famous voyages of Marco Polo from 2071 until 2095. Well, Marco Polo, the Venetian merchant and explorer, he is renowned for the travel across Asia during the 13th century. His journeys were documented in the book The Travels of Marco Polo. The Travels of Marco Polo. And let's discuss together the key events in his voyages. So, let's start. Marco Polo was born in Venice in 1254. 1254. And Venice at the time was a republic, and his father Niccolo and uncle Maffeo Polo were seasoned merchants who already journeyed in the east, reaching the court of Kublai Khan in China. The first voyage, Venice. The first voyage of Marco Polo to the east was in 1271, when he was only 17 years old. So start point 1271. The route started from Venice. The Polo family traveled overland through the Middle East, crossing the Mediterranean. So it crosses the Mediterranean. And the first stop was in Acre, which is now in modern Israel. Well, in this journey, Marco Polo, at age 70, accompanied his father Niccolò and uncle Maffeo. Well, the purpose was to honor an invitation to the Kublai Khan and to return with learned men and gifts from the Pope. In this short journey first to the Middle East, the first stop in Acre, they avoided crossing dangerous water and instead proceeded via land to the northern Armenia, and then returning back in Persia, which is now Iran, modern Iran. Well, one of the key stops was Almaut Castle, somewhere here. Then to Saba. Then they went south to the Persian Gulf in Hormuz. The caravan crossed Persia, passing cities like Yazat, and Tabriz. Yazat and Tabriz. Then they traveled north, heading to the Pamir Mountains, which are in this area, Pamir Mountains. Alright, they traveled along the Silk Road, encountering various cultures, including Samarkand and Balkh in this area, modern day Uzbekistan. Well, they reached the Pamir Mountains. This leg involved traversing high altitude and harsh terrain of the Pamir. They described Pamir Mountains as the roof of the world. Marco Polo noted the extreme cold and thin air in these mountains. Well, the first stop was Kuala Epanya. Kuala Epanja. Yeah. Right. And then after crossing the mountains they reached Taklamakan Desert in this area. Desert. Well, they crossed the vast area of Taklamakan Desert in what is known Xinjiang, China, and they're going a little bit north near almost the border of the Mongol Empire. Marco Polo documented the extreme climate and the use of camels for transport. So, camels. They arrived in the territory of China at Cathay, and they arrived at Kublai Khan's court in Xanadu, which is the summer capital of Yuan dynasty. Kublai Khan was impressed by Marco's intelligence and made him an emissary, allowing him to travel extensively through the Chinese Empire. The Chinese Empire. Well, what happens next is that Marco Polo traveled in the region, including Beijing, somewhere here, Beijing, and further in Southeast Asia and the Yangtze River Delta, and in the Yunnan in Southeast Asia, and in interior of the Chinese Empire, in the land of the great Khan Yuan, or Mongol China, this area. and he stops at Mien. Mien. Well, he marveled at Chinese innovation like paper money. Paper money. Gunpowder. And advanced city planning. Well, all of this knowledge he will return and show all in the front of the Pope. They will. Next was the return journey. After 70 years in China, the Polo's family decided to return to Venice. But not on the land route, this time via the maritime route, escorting a Mongol princess to Persia. And they traveled across the shore of China with different stops in Saiton, and further they reach even the Sumatra in modern Indonesia. And they reached as well Sri Lanka. So this is the returning. And further they stops in the Indian peninsula and further through the Indian coastline until they reach Momus. Well, the return trip took about 2 years to complete, and the return to Venice. From Momus to Venice, they used the same route as they used at the beginning. So they returned on the same route, but this time directly took the acre area. So they didn't went back to the Armenian zone. And from here, from acre, they return on the same route, the maritime route, back to Venice as they traveled from beginning. Well, the Polos arrived back to Venice after 24 years. 24 years. Appearing foreign due to their eastern attire and wealth. Marco Polo's tale, compiled into the book by Rustichello da Pisa, creating one of the most detailed accounts of the medieval world and Far East. But what he did in the service of Kublai Khan, Marco Polo served as envoy and advisor for Kublai Khan again for nearly 70 years, and he took undertook missions through the vast Mongol Empire, visiting all the regions from India, Burma, Vietnam, and Mongolia. He documented the wealth, infrastructure, and culture of these areas visited, and he took notes and architectural notes about the city plannings. Marco Polo, like I said, returned to Venice in 1295, bringing with him stories and knowledge of the Far East. He was captured during a conflict between Venice and Genoa in 1298. Venice and Genoa conflict. While in prison, he dictated his travel accounts to a fellow inmate, which was Rustichello da Pisa, which later published the book of Marco Polo's journeys. The result was the travels of Marco Polo, and which became one of the most influential works of the time. It was so influential that later on it inspired the explorer like Christopher Columbus. The key facts of Marco Polo's journey. Cultural exchange. Marco Polo's accounts introduced Europeans to Chinese innovations such as paper money, compass, silk, compass, gunpowder, and paper money. His detailed descriptions of the Silk Road and Asia's geography helped map makers to expand his understanding of this world. While some historians debate the accuracy of certain claims in Marco Polo's accounts, his travels remain a symbol of adventure and curiosity. Bridging the East and West during the medieval period. Marco Polo. Alright. And here we are with another tracing on map ASMR session. This time was about Marco Polo. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, I wish you all the best. Bye bye.